Hey, whoa! I know it looks like we're like way ahead of you, but we're not. So, okay, what's going on in here is we are now test fitting the new hardware onto the engine, which is so exciting. All the bolt holes appear to line up. We're checking that right now. We removed the AC compressor, and that's not going back on, so we're clear. You can actually see where we hit it here on our beautiful new fuel rail when we tried fitting it the first time, so it was not going to fit. The only thing we're really concerned about here is we got a transmission dipstick comes along this way, and we have to connect something right there. I don't know if you can see that very well, but we can rotate this, so we're going to be okay. Nothing else seems to really be in the way. We might have to work on some bracketry for some of these tubes. They don't seem to want to bolt onto this anymore, but otherwise, look at that. It fits. The test fit is a success, and we can go ahead and start putting gaskets in here. We are also vacuuming out the inside to get any particulates that we've knocked in, and we've knocked in quite a few, to be honest. And yeah, gaskets.
Okay, so we have all 12 cylinder head holes tapped, and now we are moving on to the final stages. We are going to be applying a adhesive to our gaskets, our intake manifold gaskets, and then we will be setting them on there and letting them tack up, and we will also be degreasing the intake manifold. So that is what we are doing right now. This is roughly step 10 in the EFI installation process.
And what's the glue called? The adhesive?
This is our super weather stripping adhesive.
No, but what's it really called?
Otherwise known as Gorilla Snot.
Yeah! Gorilla Snot.
And I think you can guess why. And here it is, fully installed and bolted down. So we have all 12 bolts torqued in the correct torquing pattern, and then they are torqued down to 30 foot-pounds, and these are 9/16 bolts heads for anyone wondering. So
we also added some washers. We were a little uncomfortable with how the heads of the bolts set on the aluminum, so we added a couple washers in there. And yeah, it's looking really good. Alrighty guys, this is an exciting moment. We've got a vacuum line here, this steel vacuum line. This is what is controlling the transmission's shifting characteristics. We've got, this is your heater hose, and this goes to the radiator. Let's see, that's everything right now. That's a lot of stuff. We have accessories being put onto this manifold. We had to remove this fuel line to get this in, but otherwise this is going together really well. Super happy.
alright guys, it is day 3 on the EFI swap for the ambulance, and here's what we got done last night. We got the intake manifold on, bolted on completely, all the brackets, got a lot of the tubing like the coolant and the vacuum lines, and now we just need to get new valve cover gaskets and clearance the valve covers possibly, and then we'll get those bolted on and we're off to the races. So you can see all the tools laying about. We are going to be finishing up the fuel delivery system, getting that bracket mounted, getting the plumbing going from the back all the way up to the front over here, and then we can start doing our final assembly. Alright, so I am working on getting the fuel system plumbed completely. So right now, I have it plumbed all the way up to the front. So I'm following the frame rails, and this is towards the front of the car. And there you can see it's going along there. Past the headers, it's going to be far to the right, away from the heat. I'm going to zip tie that away, but it's going to follow the frame rail over underneath this floorboard here, far away from the headers, and up to the front. So let's go check out the front. So that's all we have for fuel line 3/8 right now, but check this out. We have our fuel pressure regulator mounted up in the front here on top of the radiator, the sheet metal. So here is our supply line 3/8 running into it, and then we have another 3/8 fitting, and that will come out and go straight over to the fuel rail. And then we have our return line right here, and that's going to go down and it's going to connect to that factory return fitting, which is that silver pipe you can see right past the belt there. And then it'll return to our tank. So we're almost done plumbing, just got a few more steps.
Alright guys, we're going to riv nut this frame. Riv nuts are a pretty good solution for stuff like this. Frame was a little too thin to tap, so I'm just going to shove her in there. I want this to be up. And then you go like that. And then there you go, riv nut. Now I got a nice threaded area that I can use later. Now you may notice I have 3 riv nuts and 4 holes. Unfortunately, inside the frame there is some structure in here that prevents me from getting a riv nut in there. So we're going to mount the bracket up here and we're going to just weld that last bit. But it should be alright.
Okay, we're moving along. We have the oxygen sensor installed on the driver's side collector pipe. There are the headers right there going down to our oxygen sensor. So this is a nice kit. It's got a pre-made connector right there, and that will allow us to connect into the harness, and it's going to snake up into the engine bay over there. So up here we still don't have valve cover gaskets yet. We're going to get those soon, but we have a lot of the vacuum line plumbing. So we got our transmission shift solenoid, and then we have our map sensor right here, and then we have 2 lines going up to a vacuum reserve canister, and then the fuel pressure regulator over there. So let's go check that out. So over here we have our finished fuel pressure regulator. It is vacuum controlled for different throttle positions, and then we have our inlet and our outlet 3/8 fuel line. This goes up to the rail, and then we have our return coming down and then going to the factory return way down there. Okay, so we are finally putting on valve covers. We got new gaskets since the old ones were super brittle. These are cork, Velcro, and very thick. So it also alleviated our clearance issue, possible clearance issues with the valve covers. So that's great.